Hello and welcome back to Game of Trades, your #1 channel for videos on the stock market and cryptocurrencies. This video is going to be focused on Bitcoin. This is going to be a very important video where we're going to discuss a lot of interesting concepts. But before we do that, before we get into this video, I want you to think about all the big trades that have been made throughout history, all the big innovation trades and the massively growing industries. If you think about that, over the recent years, we've had social media, we've had stocks like Facebook, Google make absolutely massive gains. You had internet stocks and phones throughout the 1990s, a massively growing industry. But if we go back even further, you had the oil and gas industry. That was innovation. You had the car industry. That was innovation. That was new technology at the time. And I think it's important to remind ourselves that when each of these technologies appeared, they were brand new concepts that not many people understood and a lot of people criticized. If you look at the oil industry, that eventually came to completely replace coal as the primary source of energy, well, not many people would have guessed that it would play out like that. So it's our job as investors to recognize when we have opportunities like we have in the cryptocurrency space, where you have absolutely massive potential for growth through future adoption, future projects, applications in our everyday life. And it's our job to take advantage of it. Now, in the current macro environment where we've got a negative real interest rate, where you've got monetary debasement happening right before our eyes, with the inflation rate remaining steady at around 5% and probably likely to stay there for a few more months, it's very interesting to see Bitcoin tick all the boxes in terms of being able to retain its value. You don't have to reinvest in it like real estate for it not to degrade. You don't have to worry about it being seized by the government like gold was in 1934 or like real estate was seized in the USSR. Now, obviously, these are very catastrophic scenarios I'm painting here, but this is something we've been talking about for quite some time. We do believe that we're entering a period of extreme economic and political uncertainty. So to see an asset like Bitcoin not only take advantage of the major innovation behind the decentralized value through blockchain technology, but also act as a better, more practical storehold of wealth compared to anything we've seen throughout history. And we are big fans of that. And that's why, however speculative that may sound, that is one of the center points behind our investment strategy. We're currently in a massive bull market on Bitcoin with huge upside potential. And so that's exactly what we do on this channel. We cover this crazy asset and find the best opportunities to buy and to sell Bitcoin. If you're interested in following that with us, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Now, in this video, we're going to discuss some of the Bitcoin fundamentals that we have here, that we've had recently, some very important concepts that we're going to cover right now. We're also going to talk about the short-term technicals, what's been happening recently on Bitcoin. Over the past few videos, we said that it was not impossible to see a short-term correction. In fact, we got a lot of positive feedback from this video here, where many people were actually very surprised to see the fact that we saw that correction coming. And I also want to discuss the sentiment on Bitcoin right now. From what we've seen over the past few weeks is that a lot of investors are actually expecting Bitcoin to crash all the way back down and begin a bear market. So we're going to discuss that. Now, without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so I'm going to begin by talking about whether or not we're actually seeing fundamentals align with the fact that we're starting a bear market. And for that, I'm going to take a look at the supply shock ratios that takes a look at the illiquid supply of Bitcoin. And if we compare what's happening right now with the last bear market, we're going to be able to identify whether or not we're actually seeing similar developments underneath the surface of Bitcoin that suggests that we're heading into a bear market. And so you can see here the illiquid supply of Bitcoin throughout 2018 all the way to 2019, where we had this 80% drawdown on Bitcoin. We had the illiquid supply come down significantly. That red zone here, that's highlighted, you see that ratio come down significantly. Now, throughout the bull market here from 2019 all the way till 2021, in January 2021, we saw that ratio come up. And that's a large part of what creates those big, large moves up in Bitcoin. Then let's zoom in here and see what happened right before the big May sell-off. You had this illiquid supply ratio come down significantly, telling you that it was possible to see a short-term correction coming. But since then, we've had the ratio come back up. So not at all the same fundamentals that we were seeing throughout this period here at the beginning of the bear market. We didn't see the illiquid supply ratio come back up significantly following the first drop, right? We actually saw it just consolidate and then head back down. This is extremely bullish compared to this. Now, another very interesting chart that I want to show you guys here. This is again on-chain data from Glassnode. We love to take a look at the on-chain data. That's what Bitcoin is. It's the freedom of knowing what other participants are doing with their Bitcoins. And so you know what the big investors, the whales, the big money on Bitcoin, what they're doing with their holdings. And so you have this type of chart here that shows you the price of Bitcoin here in gray, the number of whales, right? So that's the number of big guys that are holding a lot of Bitcoin in their wallets. And in green here, you have their holdings. And you can see what's been happening recently. So we have the number of whales that's pretty much stable, right? It's going down a little bit even. So we'll say that the number of whales is more or less steady. But look at what happened very recently here. We had this drop on Bitcoin, with that drop shaking out a lot of leverage and bringing the price down from around 52K to 42K very rapidly. But despite that drop, we've seen the whale holdings number go up, right? So there's the same amount of whales. The price has gone down, but their holdings have gone up. What does that mean? It means that they're buying Bitcoin on this dip. That's bullish. And it's very different to what we were seeing back in March, April, and May, where here you actually had the price of Bitcoin go up throughout April and beginning of May here, but the whale holdings was going down here. So that's very, very interesting. You had a bearish divergence, we'll call it here, with price going up, whale holdings going down. And here you have bullish divergence with price going down and whale holdings going up, telling you smart money is entering this market. Now that Bitcoin is a larger asset, it's a real player in the financial markets, right? It's going to be influenced by macroeconomic factors like inflation, yields, economic growth. And so it's absolutely essential to take all of that into account. Not just the technicals, that's very important, but the entire picture. Now, in our weekly overviews of Bitcoin, we obviously take a look at high quality on-chain analysis. There's just so much insight that we cover on these Bitcoin overviews that gives traders and investors a real edge over everyone else that's just trading off the charts. Every week we get together with our crypto analysts, we discuss the Bitcoin on-chain analysis, we discuss the macroeconomic environment, what we think is going to happen with economic growth, inflation, yields, what the financial markets are going to look like over the next few months, and what impact that's going to have on Bitcoin. And following those discussions, we produce these overviews where we give you guys the final product of those conversations, of those convictions, combined with all the research that we've made across sectors. The next Bitcoin overview is going to be posted tomorrow, so make sure to test out the free trial if you want to have access to it. And hopefully if you like it, then you can become a permanent member of the growing Game of Trades community. We've had so much great feedback from these posts, and it's stimulating a lot of great and interesting conversations. Now let's quickly take a look at the technical picture on Bitcoin. I do believe it tells us a lot about the current supply and demand dynamics. Are the bulls in control? Are the bears in control? And so let's take a look at the key levels here. By the way, let's zoom out quickly to show you guys what price channel we're looking at here. This is the magic price channel that we've been looking at ever since the May sell-off that actually enabled us to find that bottom at 29,000. If you were watching this channel back here, you'll know we were looking at this channel and we covered this support level capturing that bear market rally reaction right here, capturing that 2019 very significant peak, and then that small reaction in 2020, and Bitcoin bounced right off of it twice. And we were looking at that. But now let's see what's been happening. So you had that big, powerful bounce where we moved up through multiple levels of resistance. And now that we hit that next big line of resistance we were eyeing at 53K, look at what happened since then. We found support at this channel here. So that's a bullish development, seeing price hold up above this level, hold up above the 200-day moving average. These are bullish developments. What you have to be looking at is the weekly chart, all right? Because this is what everyone's looking at when looking at these longer term charts. Once you got a weekly close above one of these lines, that tells you that that level is cleared, right? So we got a weekly close above this line here, right here in August 2021. And since then, we've been trending up and price has stayed above it. So you want to see weekly closes above that line consistently. If we get a weekly close below, then you're looking at the next support at 40K. That's our maximum drawdown for this correction at around $40,000. We won't necessarily get there, but that's a possibility. And just to show you how well this works, look at all these weekly closes on that support level, again and again. And then once you get a close below it, that's when the next big line to watch out for is going to act as support. So what we expect to happen right now is just a period of consolidation before we break out and move on to the next big target, which is going to be at $75,000 here. That's our next big Bitcoin target that should be reached within the next couple of months. Now, before we move away from the technicals, I want to take a look at one more chart here just to show you why our maximum drawdown is at around $40,000. This is another big channel we're looking at with significant levels of reactions along the way, also acting as resistance on that middle line. That's a typical thing you want to see with price channels. Resistance again here. And so you can see the zone right there that would act as support if it was tested, and that would keep Bitcoin in a bullish structure. Now, I said I would take a look at the sentiment on Bitcoin. I believe it's a very, very important aspect to look at because a lot of what drives the price is just fear of missing out when the price is rising. That ends up pushing Bitcoin into parabolic moves, or fear that drives Bitcoin into capitulation-like moves like we saw throughout this period here, throughout summer. Now, this chart is from Sentiment, so you can go and check them out. They post some very interesting analysis. And this is their social sentiment index for Bitcoin. Now, obviously, no indicator is perfect, and you shouldn't trade solely based on this, but we're actually seeing one of the lowest readings in social sentiment. A lot of people are scared of what's coming next on Bitcoin. They think it looks like a counter trend rally where we're going to see much more downside on Bitcoin. Now, as I said earlier, we could see a little bit further consolidation down to 40K, but this indicator is telling me that a lot of people are scared of what's happening right now, and we may already have seen the capitulation move. Now, if we take a look at the deep readings similar to what we're seeing right now of the sentiment indicator, you had at time very important bottoms, such as this one at the end of summer, this one in, I believe this was in September, October, when we were entering BTC with our members. Then back here in July, that was a very important bottom. Here in April 2020, very important bottom. Now, obviously, this is not a perfect indicator. There are moments where it doesn't time bottoms, but this is quite a promising development, knowing that we're on the opposite side of the majority. Now, another big indicator that we're looking at here, this is an indicator that actually comes from alternative.me. This is something we've taken a look at many times before on this channel. It's a great indicator of sentiment. And so in the Bitcoin overview from August 27th, we took a look at this index and it was around 80. And unlike throughout the summer where this indicator was showing extreme fear and we were telling our members to position long on Bitcoin, here, that was the moment to become a little bit more vigilant of the short-term price action on Bitcoin. Now look at what happened since that drop we've seen a massive decline in the bullish sentiment in cryptocurrencies. This indicator, I believe, is based on a combination of the volatility, the volume, momentum, the Bitcoin dominance as well, and also social media and surveys. So it's a pretty well-rounded fear and greed index for cryptocurrencies, and seeing it near that extreme greed reading is another piece of the puzzle that tells me we might be close to a bottom on Bitcoin if we haven't already seen that bottom. Now make sure to smash that like button if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something new, if it helped you in any way. It takes a couple of seconds and it helps our channel out massively. Now that's about all I wanted to cover in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Now in the meantime, I wish you good luck on your trading and see you next time.